everyone. This is my advocacy website on public education here in Panama and in the Latin American region in general. The design I went for was to keep it as simple, clean, professional, and straightforward as possible because my audience is the Meduca and the National Assembly Education Committee, and these are very two important and powerful entities that have the authority to make a real impact and change in this situation. In my homepage, I added this image of these kids in a school in very poor conditions to create a visual impact at first glance in the viewer when you first open the website. I also added this phrase that I think that embodies very well this issue, that is, where you are born should not determine how far you go. In the author section, I talk a little bit about myself, about what motivated me to create this website. I am currently, like all of you, here at FSU Panama. I am a freshman and I major in industrial engineering. I have two little brothers, and even though I'm from Panama, I have a lot of family that lives in the US or in Europe, and it's very common for them to attend public schools. Even though people there have the financial capacity to afford private school, they choose not to because public school is free and it's supposed to give students a great education. This is not the case here in Panama. I was lucky enough to go to a private school, but a lot of children are not, and it is not fair that your socioeconomic situation determines what kind of education you get. Here in the statement of purpose, I talk a little bit about the same, about my motivation, about why I did this website, but the purpose of this website is to create an impact for the Meduca and the National Assembly Education Committee to analyze and see the great consequences this issue is creating here in Panama, and to take into consideration the solutions that are presented here, since they were backed by research and are proven to work already in other countries in Latin America. The issue, the main issues with the post-school system are that they lack basic necessities and that also they have a shortage and underqualified teachers. Between 30 and 40% of students, of public students in the pandemic did have access to computer and internet, compared to 90% in private schools. And the methods for teacher training in Panama in public schools are very outdated and ineffective. And new methods like the science-based teaching method give better results in project-based learning, in critical thinking, and in computational thinking. And this lack of necessities create a lot of consequences and have negative impact. For example, public school students scored between 58 and 68 points less than private school students in the PISA math section of those tests, showing that the gap between public school and private schools is very great. This issue is not only national, it's a trend in the whole region, and it shows that graduation rates and dropout rates are very closely tied to income, meaning that a person from a poor family is more likely to not finish school. And most people think that a diploma doesn't guarantee success in life, and it doesn't, but research published in the Journal of Development Economics shows that between half and 2/3 of the income gap in Latin America and Europe are due to educational achievement. And this creates a lot of consequences, not only for the individual, but for the overall country as well. It creates a poverty cycle that means that poor people do not finish school, they don't do well financially, and they can afford a good education for their children, and that cycle repeats itself. Also, it creates an economic stagnation, meaning that the economy doesn't grow at all, it stays flat, and a dropout crisis, because, for example, in Honduras and Guatemala, nearly 40% of sixth graders drop out before completing lower secondary education. Some solutions presented here to combat this issue were teacher incentive programs, meaning that give bonuses to teachers that for working in under-resourced schools, and it was already proven to work in Peru because teacher attrition reduced by 5 percentage points, and the likelihood of filling these vacancies increased by 3 percentage points. Also, the previously mentioned modernized teacher trainings to create better critical thinking and learning for students. And the last two is infrastructure investment in clean water, electricity, computers, libraries, basic necessities that a kid needs to learn, and from teachers need to give proper teaching for these children. And a strategic budget allocation that means not only increasing the amount of money spent in public schools, but giving the money to the schools that need them the most. And for the advocacy, the Meduca, the National Assembly Education, the Meduca could launch this teacher recruitment program. It could replace the outdated training methods. It could also conduct a national audit to know which schools need the most help, and they already partnered with UNESCO in 2023 to create a law, so they could do it again for technical and financial support. And the National Assembly Education Committee could approve an increase of the budget. They could pass legislation establishing that a minimal standards for schools to reach, and they could formally engage with UNESCO and the Inter-American Development Bank to give an additional funding to public school here in Panama. And the section of my choice, I chose to do a visual representation of all the statistics presented here in the website. So this is the gap between public school and private schools in the PASI math test. This one here is the difference of access to internet and computers between public school students and private school students. This is almost half the sixth graders in Honduras and Guatemala that drop out. This whole bar shows the income gap between Latin America and Europe, and the blue section is the one that shows the ones that are due to educational achievement. And this is the impact on the teacher bonuses in Peru that were proven to work. And the last part is the references with the works cited page. Thank you very much.